You could be seated in a car, on a bus while school is far, on the couch because dinner isn't done. With your mom in the store getting clothes and you're bored. Don't worry, imagination is fun. If it's sunny or it's raining, doesn't matter, book's the same, and you can read it till your heart's content. The best hobby you'll see, go to the library, it's free. You can read when your money is spent. Because anytime and anywhere is a good place to read. If you have yourself and a little light, that's all you need. Because anytime and anywhere is a good place to read. If you have yourself and a little light, that's all you need. That's all you need. Well, and of course, a book.
Can You Dance, Dalila? Story by Virginia Kroll, pictures by Nancy Carpenter. In February, when a fever kept Dalila home from school, Grandma let her watch TV. There was a Valentine's Day special about ballroom dancing. Dalila watched the partners waltz and tango, rumba, and cha-cha. They did promenades and pivots, loop turns, and long steps. Someday, I'm gonna dance, Dalila said, falling asleep to the foxtrot. The next day, when she was feeling better, Dalila used Grandma's broom for a partner, but the broom didn't hold her or smile back, and it tripped her when she tried to change places with it. In March, Grandma took Dalila to the Irish Center, where Mrs. Shea's daughter, Shannon, was performing an Irish dance. Dalila watched Shannon's feet move in quick steps and rapid shuffles. Her body was straight and stiff as a pine tree trunk, and she kept her arms rigid at her sides. When Dalila learned that Shannon's dance was called a jig, she giggled. Grandma said, "That's perfect. A neat little name for a tidy little dance." Dalila went home and put on her green and white dress. She tied green yarn to the ends of her braids. She tried the jig, but her arms wouldn't cooperate. They wanted to keep time with the rest of her. "There are other kinds of dancing," said Grandma. In April, Grandma took Dalila to a line dance demonstration at the community center. Dalila loved the dancers' western wear and the designs on the leather boots. She liked how they cocked their heads and kicked up their heels, stomped forward, climbed backwards, and whooped with their voices now and then. They reminded Dalila of a school of fish, a swish in perfect time. When Dalila got home, she changed into her jeans and denim shirt and pulled on her winter boots. She asked Grandma to find a country western radio station, and then Grandma, Dalila, and Dalila's cousin Kiki, who was spending the night, began to line dance too. But when Dalila tried to kick up her heels, she bruised her shins instead, and the music kept getting way ahead of Dalila's legs. "I have a surprise for you," Grandma told Dalila the last week in May. She held out 2 tickets. Rashida Roberts from church is in the ballet recital next Saturday. "Hooray!" Dalila shouted. She had never been to a performing arts center before. When Dalila saw the spotlight settle on Rashida, she thought she would never breathe again. Rashida's skirt was dusted with sequins and rustled like summer leaves. Rashida's arms and legs flowed smoothly, and when she arched her back, Dalila thought of a colorful, sinewy snake curving in one unbroken motion. Rashida leaped across the stage in a grand jeté, and her image whisked by in a glistening blur. Just like a shooting star, Dalila thought with eyes a twinkle. Later, Dalila put on all 4 of her swinging skirts and tried ballet in front of Grandma's full-length mirror. "I look more like a frog than a ballerina," she said when she did her first plie. Her feet looked like a clown's when she did tendas, and an arabesque landed her smack on the floor. At school in June, Jeremy's father came in for show and tell. He was the tap teacher at Gotta Dance Academy. He showed the class the clickety cleats on the bottom of his jet black shiny shoes. It seemed that Mr. Wise's feet made him 3 ticks and 4 tocks for every 1 step he danced. Sometimes he looked like he was gliding on air, and when he spun, his long arms looked like windmill blades. Dalila felt the breeze as he whirred past. Dalila dashed off the bus and headed straight for Grandma's closet. She found Grandma's dressy heels and slid them on. She scooted to the kitchen and began to brush and shuffle to toe point and heel drop, just like Mr. Wise showed the class. But her smiles turned to frowns when she listened. Her taps and ticks sounded more like thuds and thumps. At last she stumbled, landing with a bump. "I'll never be a dancer," Dalila sighed, and she put her shoes away. In July, Grandma said, "We're going to the festival at the university." "For what, Grandma?" Dalila asked. "The West African troupe is coming," Grandma said. As soon as Dalila and Grandma got off the bus, Dalila heard the drumming. The noise sent tingles to her tummy and shivers up her spine. The drum rumbled like thunder. The dancers rocked and reeled to the beat. The rhythm quickened. The dancers bobbed and circled like bushes being blown by a hurricane. They pranced like young zebras and leaped like antelopes and landed like leopards in practiced pounces. Dalila's hands were sore from clapping. When there was silence, the dancers invited the audience to form an apasa, a group that dances to whatever feeling the music gives them. The drums began their beating, and then Dalila saw no more. She closed her eyes, and her heart was the drum. She was the sun-warmed snake aslither on the sand. She was the agile antelope and the fish keeping pace with his partners. She was the newborn zebra struggling to stand. Dalila heard galloping hooves all around her. She opened her eyes. She was the center of a huge circle. Everyone was gathered in, caught by the stirrings of her spirit. Dalila didn't stop. Her arms and her legs were the roaring windmill. Her body was the trembling tree bowing to the breeze. And most of all, Dalila was the shooting star, dazzling bright and lighter than air.